of our local small businesses have 50 employers or fewer. So now how many of you would have fit into that category? 50 employees or fewer? Raise them high. An awful lot, right? What is the point of being in business? 2 or 3 words.
Making money.
Make money.
Make a profit. It's become a dirty word sometimes in some circles. But all a profit is your neighbors telling you, you did a great job. Do more of that. Right? Because if you can't make money, then you can't do more of that. And so far I haven't told you anything new. Don't start your post-lunch nap yet. How many, just back in here, how many out of 10 small businesses, how many do you think are making money? Truly profitable? Any ideas?
6.
6.
3.
3. 4. Any other ideas? 2. The answer, okay, and by real money I mean everybody who's an owner is fully paid the market value of the work they do, and there's money left over. Between this and this. And that's very common in small business. In fact, it's been consistently common for decades. Another consistently common statistic is that half of all small businesses that start will fail financially, not including other reasons for closure, in the first 5 years. Through all of our technology changes, that statistic has been consistent. Okay? Why is this? Well, first of all, a lot of small business owners are happy if they own their job. You know what I mean by owning a job? It means, yeah, you're basically cash flowing, the expenses are paid, and you're paying yourself reasonably for the work that you do, and it's stable. But that's different from profitable. You can't grow with that, right? Okay. An awful lot of businesses, though, the owners are paid substandard for doing the same work if they went and got a job using the same skills. And far too many businesses, half of them, are on the way out. They're not paying the owner at all. Okay, so that is the small business story. So where do you find assistance? How do you get to profitable? First of all, can every small business be truly profitable? I believe the answer is absolutely yes. The reason they're not is because most small business owners did not get a finance education and then start a business, did they? They're doing something they passionately love. There was an engineer that invented an air conditioner at once because they wanted it. Not because they knew how much money it could make. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised, I haven't looked up the air conditioner story, but I wouldn't be surprised if, like so many things, the first person to try went out of business, and somehow the intellectual property moved on. Okay? So first, it just starts from asking yourself, where does it hurt? If you're in small business, you have some hurts, right? And why is it so hard to find assistance? Well, it's kind of a big black box. I mean, you have very specific needs, and assistance is often very general, and it doesn't hit your needs. It's hard to find solutions off the shelf. It's also hard to look for assistance when you're too busy fighting fires, right? And oftentimes reading a book can be inspirational, but does it really solve the problem that you're having? The problem with things like books and nowadays Google searches looking for solutions, is it's very 80-20 information. It's general, okay? It's been repackaged time and time and time again. Guaranteed, you look at the business books on the top 10 sellers list, and they've all been written before, and before, and before, just repackaged and resold. They aren't customized to you. And that's what specific business assistance or consulting can do. Now, everybody who's in business can net profit from consulting. And you all know this because you've all been armchair coaches for the football team, right? You've all had a better idea than coach at some point. No one is an island. Nobody is self-sufficient. So here's the meat, okay? Here's the little public service announcement, because this is very difficult for a lot of people to access. They know they need help, but they don't know who, how, and where. There are two kinds of consultants. One you already know a lot about. These are the technical consultants. Unless you do your own tax return, if you have an accountant, that is a technical consultant. Unless you fix your own computers, if you have an IT guy or gal that comes in and fixes your computers, you have a technical consultant. So we know that space. That's relatively easy to access. What's difficult to access are how do you fix the things that you cause? Our decisions. How do we make better decisions? And that's what managerial consulting is for. And then I break managerial consulting into two types. There's a rising, in fact, a majority provider that I call the psychology consulting. It's largely coaching, and it's designed on helping you manage yourself, helping you manage others. It has more to do with attitudes and beliefs and behaviors many times, but they don't delve deeply into operations. The other side of consulting is the psychiatrists. Now, what's the difference in medicine between psychology and psychiatry? They both work on the same problems many times, right? But in psychology, you talk through it. In psychiatry, you go and you measure scientifically for something chemical and then try to fix it, solve it, right? Psychiatrists can diagnose and prescribe medicine. So do you need a coach or do you need a consultant? They overlap, but their approaches to the solution are different. So hopefully if you come away with nothing else, that's one just key real clarification that helps you understand this world. Now, for sources of managerial consulting, there's some great free resources in the community, and I'm going to go over those for you so you know where they are and how to access them, okay? Free sources are, however, in high demand and short supply. That's how it works. You don't get a lot of hours of deep time with someone from the free sources. They tend to be tax or charity funded, and the paid sources, in contrast, you're basically buying somebody's time. And they're going to be focused on you uniquely and customize their solutions to you. In Manhattan, we have a small business development center based out of Washburn, and we have consistently had a local representative of that, and most of you probably know or know of Darren Solden. He did a phenomenal job for us the last 5 years, didn't he? And recently moved on to take the head job over at the Chamber in Wamego, which is a fantastic move for both him and that organization. That's left us with a little hole. I understand there are some applicants being interviewed, and hopefully that position will be filled soon. Carl Klein is responsible for that in Topeka. However, in the meantime, I'm doing some contract consulting to help fill the gap. Okay? So I'm familiar with their tools and their processes. They do make some nice tools available, and they can do a relatively deep amount of consulting, you know, for 3 or 4 hours with you, and really help you diagnose the problem. I'll still have Darren's name on the slide. If anybody wants email or phone information or the website for current update to be able to sign up and get some help, get with me and I'll get that to you. They also provide, they're supported by federal, state, and local funds, and they also provide some seminars. They do outreach events. They do some really specific things like QuickBooks training, tax planning, things like that. So pretty good stuff. We also have SCORE. Now, SCORE isn't as well known here, but there are very strong SCORE chapters around the country. How many of you have heard of SCORE? Good, quite a few. How many of you have used it at some point in your career? Anybody ever sit with a SCORE volunteer? Okay, so not too many. So you're aware of it, but haven't tried. SCORE stands for Service Corps Retired Executives, and it's actually a partnership with the SBA. It's still a private organization. And they've done some pretty notable things. They were there at the beginning helping whoever started Jelly Belly, which is now a $160 million company. They helped Vera Bradley grow up to a $288 million company. They've served 9 million people since 1964. And they provide mentoring. They also do workshops and roundtables. A lot of those are in Topeka. Sometimes you have to travel a little to access that. But we do have a small chapter, sub-chapter of SCORE volunteers here. I'm one of those, Fred Willett. I'm sure many of you know him as one of the SCORE volunteers. He's a great guy to sit with and learn from. 340 chapters across the nation. We have 3 here in Kansas. And over 11,000 volunteers. Now the difference between these two, if you just need a little bit of light help, SCORE is a great avenue. Okay? If you need to go a little deeper, SBDC kind of picks up right there. Okay? Some nice statistics here about groups of people that they served. We're still on government numbers, so that's why it's 4 years old. And there's some information if you're interested in. Now, one of the reasons I'm actually getting around the community right now and sort of giving this talk is SCORE needs more volunteers. I don't know if you can relate to this. Some service clubs are like this too, but the average age of the SCORE volunteer has been creeping up. And they need some new blood. They need some folks with some experience under their belt to come and help out some of the youngsters. So if you've ever thought about wanting to share a little bit about what you learned, it's really very easy to do. You get email, you can decide how many clients you're willing to see a month, you get an email, you make a phone call, you go have lunch with somebody. It's really a lot of fun. So if you'd like to volunteer, please come and see me and we'll get you connected. And then you have paid sources. Tom, one of your fellow Rotarians, is a well-known local and national, probably international, I think you've gone overseas too, haven't you? Consultant in fields that he has worked in. We have a few around that do coaching, and many of them use systems like Dale Carnegie. We have a few around who are niche workers. Maybe they specialize in something like HR. We have at least one who really focuses on upmarket businesses, some of the larger local businesses, Russ Fisberger. We have several industry-specific consultants. They're always around, you know, who work on very specific things. There's a guy I used to ride a bicycle with once a week. He came to town from Missouri about once every other week, and he worked specifically on some kind of oil thing out in the field. In my brand of consulting, I specialize in small businesses, but I'm multi-industry. So you know the statistic, most of us in business are in small business, micro business. And there's a massive return on investment for consulting. You think about it, whenever you really had a need in your business, and so you tried to hire it, and it's just so hard to get that need filled, and you're spending a whole salary on it. Sometimes needs can be met with automation or other process re-engineering solutions that avoid having to hire a full-time person. And even if you spend a little bit of money up front on the consultant, you've saved so much over time. Not only because the solution helped you make more money, but because you saved on that regular recurring effort expense that you might have otherwise tried to hire. So I am available for questions. There's a little bit of contact information for me. I've got cards if anybody wants one before you go. I would be happy to connect you with any of our local consultants. I've known pretty much all of them, and I know what they do and what they're special at. And we all want to work together to help serve you. So, any questions? Yeah.
You said that there was a need for more volunteers for SCORE. what is the demand size? Any way to relate to us how much demand is in this community there is seeking out of these services from SCORE?
Specifically for the Manhattan area, if you think about how many soldiers are leaving the Army every day, every week, every month, and how many of them would like to stay, and we hear those statistics from time to time, I bet Mike knows what they are. A lot of times they're thinking about, what could I do on my own? They want to start small businesses, and we get a lot of soldier interest who go out, find the SCORE website, sign up and say, hey, I'd love to talk to somebody. That's probably more than half of the folks that I see are young soldiers, you know, and that they could be as young as mid-20s, and they can be, you know, up in their 40s or 50s. And I really enjoy those folks because they work hard. They're very structured thinkers, which is great if you need help writing a business plan. But we also get a lot of community members who are really unprepared for what it takes. And they are, I mean, they are so fresh. They're still many times in the ideation stage. And it just helps them to have somebody to talk to about an idea. And then you can say, you know, that's probably going to be really tough, but what if you go research maybe this angle on it, and it might be a better opportunity, and then they go and they look at that and get back in touch with you. It's just like a running conversation.
Any connections with the College of Business at K-State, and particularly the Entrepreneurship Center?
So K-State, I mean, K-State is phenomenal resources. And K-State takes care of its community really well. I mean, they've got really fantastic programs, and then they also reach out to some things like through youth entrepreneurs and some of the other programs that they get involved with. K-State is so self-sufficient, though, you know, that we often don't think of interfacing with them because they've got it all going on, and they have their agenda, and they know what they want to accomplish, right? So this is really kind of like for the rest of us. That I have a K-State connection. I didn't go to school there, never had a job there. You know, there's lots of folks that come in and out of the community that don't have that connection and wouldn't know how to access it. So that's what the rest of us are kind of for.
Do you ask people how they find out about your services?
Do I ask you?
For a SCORE or any of these? I mean, I'm wondering, how do people find you?
You know, when it isn't something like this where you hear about it or are referred somehow, oftentimes nowadays people are Google searching and they end up finding SCORE, finding the SPDC, things like that through searches. People will call chambers, and folks at a chamber will know who the folks are in town to refer, and other business organizations. Yeah, lots of times people are just asking another business owner or manager they know, hey, where can I get some help? You know? And unfortunately, there hasn't never been a good yellow page section for managerial consulting. It just hasn't existed that way. It's hard to put that in the Google search and put a location. We don't have a listing service. So if there's a business idea